From quitting his job to going all in to $5.8 million in revenue from a single location. How does this guy start a lawn care business with virtually $0 of his own? In this episode, discover the powerful advertising method that most don't talk about.
We don't really look at it as marketing and sales. We have used it 24 consecutive years with great success.
Uncover the $15 investment that turned into more than 500 customers.
We've been able to go ahead and have direct attribution from the web coming into our CRM showing 500 plus sales.
And at last, the easiest way to shortcut your way to success.
We grew on average about $600,000 a year for the next 15, 16 years after that.
All right, Rob, before we dive into the inner workings of your business, let's talk about how all this began. What inspired you to get into lawn care?
Obviously, born and raised in Northeast Ohio, turf care is popular. You think of the three largest names in our industry, Lesco, True Green Chemical, and Scott's, all originated from within an hour of this location. So really, home from college, looking for a job, had an opportunity to sign up with a company called Lesco, which is the largest supplier to the lawn and landscape industry, and it was at their world headquarters. So I got a master's degree learning from their PhDs and product engineers, and finally came to the realization that I wanted to go off and do it on my own. Timing was a little rough because it was the same year that we had my first child, my daughter, and it was a dream of ours to always have my wife stay home and raise our kids. So decided to start my own business in January 2001. Never looked back because it was a sense of urgency. We had to make it work.
Can you give us an idea of the scale of the business as it is today?
Sure, absolutely. So for the first 23 years, we operated under Weed Pro. Obviously, in the past 6 months, we've rebranded it into Lawn Squad as we've become the franchise throughout the United States. But the company-owned stores that we currently have are in Cleveland, Ohio, and Columbus, Ohio. Currently managing just about 14,000 residential and commercial clients. With approximately 35 employees running out doing that work on a day in and day out basis.
Scale-wise, how many vans and equipment do you have?
I mentioned we have 35 employees. That means there's 35 vehicles. It's one person per vehicle going out and producing that work, a very efficient business model.
Well, let's not spill all the revenues just yet, so keep on watching. All right, you've got a lot going on in the warehouse.
A lot of products, a lot of fertilizer in there.
All right, let's go check it out. So what's the bare minimum that you need to get going in this specific business?
I just haven't worked for the supplier. We would see plenty of guys come in with a small little pickup truck, a spreader, and a hand sprayer. So you're talking $500 to $1,000 if that's what you wanted to do.
And how would you spend that money? Obviously a beater charge just to get around.
Sure, absolutely. That, a little hand spreader, Lesco stainless steel hand spreader costs you $300-400, and a little backpack sprayer you can pump up and spray individual weeds, probably runs you about $200. So you can do it for less than $1,000.
Wow, that's way different because we've interviewed lawn cares, like landscaping businesses, and there's a lot more equipment there.
We don't have the amount of steel that's required to get into the mowing, and the landscaping is significantly different than what we do. We need a little more brain power. Obviously, we have to understand agronomy, understand turf, understand the weeds and insects, but the equipment cost to get into it is not nearly that big of a hurdle.
How much did you start with? What's your story look like?
My story is a little different. I wanted to go big or I wanted to go home. I wanted to make this thing work. We were really motivated. So no, we literally went to, I got a line of credit on our house. That was an interesting conversation. I had to sit down with my wife, got an opportunity with the bank who gave me a $50,000 line of credit backed by the mortgage of our house. I had to buy my wife a bottle of wine to get permission before that, but she was all in, and we used all $50,000 in marketing.
No way.
Yeah, what about equipment? Yeah, we had about $17,000 saved in the bank. That $17,000 went to buy a used pickup truck, spreader, sprayer, and a few other pieces of equipment. We actually used the $50,000 100% for marketing.
As far as getting loans then, as far as value that we could learn from you maybe here, what are some options out there for us entrepreneurs to get the funds and get going?
I think one of the things that I learned early on, which was probably one of the smartest decisions I ever made, was while we were spending all that money, right, and we're getting all these customers, I was asking every customer to prepay for their services. So we're talking thousands of customers in that first year, and I've got well over half of them to prepay for their services. I had to offer them a bit of a discount, a 5% prepaid discount, but it was like free cash flow coming in.
100% prepaid, Rob, or like 50% down, 50 at completion?
To pay 100% for their services.
People would
in
do
advance.
That before you even showed up and did the work?
It was an industry norm already, so I didn't create the behavior, but I encouraged it at a high rate, and even let them know, obviously, we're going to give you a 5% discount if you prepay in advance. But it ended up being the best secondary line of credit that I was able to have in the business, because typically you would think we're spending all this money in the first couple months buying equipment, buying fertilizer, buying products. Well, that prepaid dollars would help pay the daily, would pay payroll, would pay for product costs, would pay for our growth as we went forward. So it was very critical that I spend that money as efficiently as possible to acquire as many customers as we could in as quick a period of time as possible.
No wonder you spent $50K on marketing.
That's right.
Alone, exclusively.
Yep.
So how many SKUs or products and fertilizers are we working with to run your business?
10 to 15.
10 to 15?
Yeah.
How many different fertilizers? Because we have a whole stack here, as you guys see.
Yeah, each round has a little bit of a different analysis, a different formulation. So if you have a 5 or 6 round program, you could be using 3 or 4 different analysis blends of fertilizer throughout the course of the year.
Gotcha. How much lawn can we cover with one bag, Rob?
Yeah, if you're applying 1 pound of nitrogen, then this bag will cover about 15,000 square feet.
Whoa, one bag for 15,000?
Yep. That's right.
That's a lot. That's good.
Professional grade fertilizer.
Yeah. You left in 2001 and started this on your own. Go big or go home. You mentioned that,
That's right.
So how do we validate an idea? Obviously, it wasn't a new business to you, but it was a new concept, pursuing it on your own.
Yeah, and like I said, initially when I was working at Lesco, my goal was to sell as much fertilizer, as much seed to contractors, because the more I sold, the more I made. And during that process, I was attending state and national conferences, you know, the Lawn Care Association conference. While at those things, I was taking classes on pay-per-click, on direct mail, on marketing, on how to sell the lawn care business. And I wanted to learn that information, bring it back to my customers, impart that on them so help them sell more, thereby me making more money. Somewhere throughout that process, that bug got into my head, and that's when I started thinking about, I want to do this on my own. And so I think over time, you're not just validating at the beginning, you're validating along the way, every step of growth. So I didn't really have that fear of success because I had been studying it for so long and observing what other businesses were doing, both in this lawn care space and how businesses were doing in dry cleaning and how businesses were doing in landscaping and mowing. So, you know, I always felt very confident that the systems that we were putting in place were going to true out.
All right, behind the camera, guys, we have something else. How is that stuff different from the solid stuff?
Obviously, this is the weed control. For the first 23 years, I mentioned our name was Weed Pro. You got to understand that the one thing we were going to make sure we had was the best broadleaf weed control possible. And this is just one of the materials we use to treat lawns to make sure that those dandelions and other weeds aren't a problem.
That's the Kool-Aid, huh?
Yep, that's right.
Does that stuff kill clover?
It will. It absolutely will. It may
My lawn is done with clover, Rob.
Yeah, it may take a few applications with clover, but it does.
Let's talk about the fact that you got 1,000+ customers in your first year, which is a crazy number.
Yep.
What worked? What got you that result?
We got that investment. We invested it in marketing. The concept was, how do we disperse these? How do we deploy this money as efficiently as possible? Because I need to acquire customers that'll prepay, that'll then continue to pay for day in, day out, week in, week out throughout the course of the year. So we deployed it in a couple different areas. First and foremost, I think it was 2001. So Google didn't exactly have pay-per-click running at scale like they do today. So we deployed a good portion of that money in direct mail. And honestly, even the lessons learned from that initial direct mail, we're still using 23 years later in business.
What percentage is that as in total marketing expenses?
At least 50% of our budget typically goes towards direct mail. And the other 50% goes to a variety of online, digital, social, as well as a lot of ground game tactics, a lot of business networks, meet and greets, yard signs. But there's no doubt about it that direct mail built this business. In general, I'd say the lawn care business was built on a telemarketing platform. In the first 3 months of the very first year we did some telemarketing, it ended up being a huge waste because we generated shoe boxes full of estimates that we just couldn't get out to these customers' lawns and
garbage.
That's right. So we basically ended up throwing all of those away, and we have stayed pretty consistent with direct mail for the past 24 years.
Yeah, I was going to say telemarketing is not a thing these days. I mean, maybe that is, but not for this business, right? So you don't have a whole tel center.
I think that's meant the world. That's why we've got such good retention rates, because we're not trying to go out and sell ourselves. We're putting the information out. They're coming to us, we're closing the sale, and we're keeping these customers for a long time.
Yeah, they have the need based on the mail that they received.
That's right.
They saw the information. Okay, so before we dive into more details as to direct marketing, how to make it effective, let's go check out what's inside your van, because I'm excited to go to the location where we're actually going to spray fertilizer and take care of the lawn.
That's right.
All right, let's do it. I would imagine you've got a lot of equipment, but let's take a look. All right. Oh, so this is basically a parking spot for the machine, essentially.
Right.
Most of its space is designated.
That's right. It's a parking spot with a filling station, so they can fill their machine, exit the ramp, perform the service, finish the job,
there,
come right
get over
back
to the
on.
next. Nice. And the way that you are operating today with the machine, with everything you need to go do a job, what is this setup going to cost me?
All in, this van completely equipped, delivered, wrapped, ready to go. You're going to be between $70,000 and $80,000
with the equipment I need?
The equipment that comes in here is between $18,000 and $20,000. So just call it all in. You're probably $100,000.
So you used to sell fertilizer.
Yeah.
How many years, by the way, before you ventured?
About 5 years.
5 years. Okay, that's quite a bit of experience under your belt. Let's talk about the importance of finding the right suppliers and building those tight-knit relationships.
You know, I think that's really been one of the secrets to our success is the fact that I came from the supply side background. Because too often we think we've got to buy it at the cheapest. We've got to bring this material in here. That's how we make profit. And I think what I realized early on from my background was I wanted to build relationships with these guys, and I wanted them to be part of the success because they can offer a whole lot more than just the product itself. I mean, their PhDs are always innovating different product types. We can be involved in some of the testing of the materials, not just with fertilizer, but with the equipment, with the vans. And it's often, every year we host a supplier event where we actually bring them all into our shop.
Wow, that's really good.
Feed them, hang out with them all day long, and we share best practices. It's really been part of our DNA to really blend with them and learn with them.
All right, Rob, where do we go next?
Well, we're gonna jump in the truck here. We're gonna head out to a residential property. Barry, the technician, is treating a residential lawn. He's gonna make it green and weed free.
Awesome. This folds in. Look at that, super easy.
Yeah.
How many square feet of lawn are we talking about, Rob?
So there's 2 lawns here. These are each about 8,000 square feet, and it takes them about 10-15 minutes to do per lawn, about an $80 application.
That's not a lot of time. So he's doing how many jobs a day then?
He's doing about 25 to 30 a day, so he'll produce anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500 on an average day.
Wow, that's awesome. And he probably has a really good relationship with each customer.
It is, same technician, does the same route, takes care of the same customers. That way they can really build a relationship. I mean,
that's huge.
Barry retains 90+% of his customers every single year. It's recurring revenue, it just builds on itself every single year.
Wow.
And really, you know, internally, we call it the talking techs because we want our technicians to be engaged with the homeowner, build that relationship and carry that relationship because we're going to keep our customers 10, 15 years. And so it's a trust and a bond that you got to create.
For sure. Cool. All right, let's get this thing out of here. As the Lawn Squad knows better than most, every lawn is unique. That means that manure that helps one lawn grow might not help another. It's why running a franchise or multi-location business is so tough. Keeping everything consistent while still reaching the right customers is no easy feat. That's where Active Campaign HQ comes in. Active Campaign HQ lets you conveniently manage all of your franchise marketing from one central hub. With one click, you can deliver consistent, personalized emails and marketing campaigns to local customers, no matter where they are. With their push-down campaign feature, franchisors can send personalized and localized marketing content to hundreds of locations instantly. No need for each franchisee to lift a finger. It's all done with the HQ marketer to make your marketing as efficient as possible. Plus, Active Campaign's intelligent marketing automation ensures you're always hitting the right audience with the right message. Ready to take your franchise marketing to the next level and find the tools that work best for each of your markets? Then check out Active Campaign HQ at activecampaign.com/franchise. What's the most efficient way that you found to provide estimates?
Yeah, that's one of those moments back in 2008 when we, sometimes you talk about disruptors in the industry. We made a decision looking at technology. At that point in time, there was Google Earth, of course, but there was a whole onslaught of additional technology that was coming out with aerial photographs, even done by airplanes when there aren't trees, tree cover, where you can actually see the lawns overhead and actually do the online measurement, which, at first the industry kind of thought, how can you do that? You need to go out to somebody's lawn to measure it. And we're like, we can actually get a more accurate measurement by doing it from the office. And it changed the whole sales process. We now went to what was called a one-step sales process, where we have the customer on the phone, and in the first couple minutes of the conversation, we'd ask some of the pain points. How did you hear about us? What's been going on with the lawn? While they were asking those questions, they're measuring the lawn online and being able to provide an instant quote. Over the course of 1 week of training, we literally stopped doing any field estimates and did everything by measuring it online and giving the price. As we're trying to generate thousands and thousands and thousands of leads, we couldn't be having to go out to visit all these lawns in order to perform them. And it really changed the way we went to market, because now we have this one-step three-step sales process, and 50% of the sales are done on the first sale. So when you talk about improved conversion rates, you can see why we started getting higher and higher conversion rates, because the customer, they didn't want to wait 3 days for us to come out and measure the lawn.
Boom, they commit, you give them a price point, and it's pretty accurate.
That's exactly right. And really, that's what this business is about. It's about understanding the square footage, because the amount of fertilizer that has to come out of here is calibrated to the size lawn it is. So you have to have very accurate measurements.
Blitz time with Rob. Rob, you ready?
Yes, sir.
What's the most creative marketing idea you've ever tried?
Well, I thought it was the full-size window envelope with the picture of their house on the front of the envelope.
And it just turned out to be creepy?
Yeah, a little before its time.
If you could design or maintain the lawn of any famous or notable character throughout history, who would it be and why?
Oh, happy Abraham Lincoln.
Oh man, that's cool. Good answer. What's the lesson about operating or scaling a business that you learned the hard way? What did it teach you?
It's similar to driving a jet ski. You just hold on as tight as you can and hope you don't fall off.
That's good. What's one hobby you have that might surprise people?
I'm a basketball coach. I have been for 26 years. I love it.
What's a common misconception about lawn care that you'd like to clear up?
It's a healthy choice. We're improving the environment. We're improving the soils. It's just a great way to love your lawn.
I thought it was just a bunch of chemicals.
Hurting
the environment.
That's
Rob.
right. That's what they say. That's what I've heard.
That's just
but
a
no,
misconception.
It is a misconception. I mean, if you look on sometimes on sides of roads, you got little grass patches because they want the water that's draining down the street to go through grass, because water that comes out of a filtered grass unit is cleaner than what comes out of your tap at home.
Natural filtration. What's your most memorable customer interaction?
When I was skiing down the hill on the back of one of these units, going about 15 miles an hour straight down the hill, and watching a customer come running out after me.
Okay, what is the most interesting thing money has allowed for?
Just freedom. The ability to say no if I don't want to do something, or yes if I do. Really, I think just freedom.
Favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Just hang out with my wife on the back patio, drinking a glass of wine. Yeah.
What is one small thing that the average lawn owner could be doing to improve their lawn care?
Simple question for me, it's be super curious. Go seek answers. Ask. If you see me on the street, flag me down, or flag somebody down. Ask questions, because we all need to be humble and curious to get better.
All right. Do you think technological advancements in automation, robotics, etc., present an existential threat to your business, and do we need to start worrying about killer robot lawnmowers?
No, absolutely not. Nothing is going to take the place of the interaction, the tech experience that we can give with customers. So no, it can't. Automation, AI is never going to take the place of a human connection.
Boom. What are some of the biggest challenges you faced when starting out, and maybe what's more relevant to today if I were to get into the same industry now?
Great, I say it's twofold. One, it was always how do we acquire leads as efficiently as possible, and how do we get those leads, those estimates into the customer's hands. As time went on, what we started realizing is, as we were scaling the business, how could we make the application more efficient and more efficient and more efficient? And as I stand behind a machine like this is the last iteration. We would gone with a smaller unit, and we would measure the time it would take to do the lawn and determine the revenue per hour generated result. And then we went to another model and another model, and eventually we landed that this unit in particular would provide us the quality we need, but provide us the efficiency to perform the application much easier, much quicker, but with the same quality. So I think it's just a matter of trying to, as you're scaling one side of the business, you don't want to put so much emphasis, because all of a sudden you're putting a demand on the other side of the business that it has to produce it. So it was trying to find the balance between, generating leads at scale and performing the applications at scale, and finding that right balance. So as we're sitting here between this truck and this ride-on equipment, we have found that balance where we can perform today the best applications possible today, but do it in a way where we can make money by looking at revenue per hour, looking at efficiencies, and looking at quality scores. We were able to blend the two together to find success.
Guys, if you're digging Rob's story, or just like corny metaphors like growing a lawn is just like growing a business, hit that subscribe button so we can continue to bring on guests and stories that will help harvest your entrepreneurial spirit.
Let's open up the booms.
The booms is what they call it, huh? This is what sprays?
That's right, it gives you the full boom for spray material.
All right.
Step on the machine, the safety button's enacted, turn the key. You are good to go.
That's it. See you later. All right, I'm gonna go to the back. All right, job done. Walk us through your year-over-year revenue. Year 1 through 5, before you became a franchisor. What did that look like in general?
2001, the banner year, the year we jumped all in. We started the year with 0. We finished that year at $261,000.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was mountain to climb, and we did it.
Good job.
And really, we grew by about $250,000 a year thereafter for the next 4 years. So by the time we got to the end of that 4th year, we were crossing $1 million. In fact, we hit $1.2 million by the end of the 5th year.
So that's 5 years in. What about 10, 15, 20? Before you became a franchisor, what, 6, 7 months ago now?
That's right. We grew on average about $600,000 a year for the next 15, 16 years after that, topping $10 million.
With how many locations, how many clients?
So we were in Cleveland and Columbus, Ohio, managing about, with 35 techs, but we had about 15,000 customers at our peak last year. So
the growth you just mentioned, that's exponential, 600 per year, up to $10 million just recently. What are some pivotal decisions highlight for us that really made that difference and gave you that growth year over year?
Yeah, the funny thing is you don't realize how pivotal those decisions were in the moment, but as we've had time to reflect back, I think to the moment when we decided to go with the ride-on equipment. We knew that if we were going to be investing all this money in marketing and we could see that trajectory growing, we were going to have to keep up with that. In 2008, obviously finding the technology to do the online measuring, again, something that was disruptor in the industry, finding a technology solution so that we could scale doing leads at a faster rate. And really after that, it's been constantly looking at technology, software to support growth. The most important thing I can tell you that I've done has been involved in that peer group, because that became my conduit to reach out to other folks within my industry that have done it, have been there, and have experienced those challenges. And I can, by putting this peer group together of folks that I could reach out to, I could learn from their mistakes and sometimes avoid some of those mistakes and try to get to the finish line a little bit easier.
What other advice to those that are maybe looking to start a peer group? Or should we stop reinventing the wheel and just join the ones that are already out there? What do you think?
There's multiple ways to do it. Nowadays, again, attending those state conferences or national conferences, there's often venues there where they've got booths, sign up for this peer group or sign up for that peer group. The way we did it was we actually talked to suppliers that were selling us product and said, hey, who do you know that's in Pennsylvania that's sharp, that's good? Tell me who's in New Jersey. And so what we did is we asked suppliers to give us their feedback, since they knew how professional those organizations were, how much they were buying. So that was the way we put that peer group together.
All right, so now after multiple decades of running this business successfully, you franchise. Curious, where are you at as a franchisor? How many locations? What's your projection for the end of this year, next year, and so forth?
Well, we're starting right here where it all started, right here just west of Cleveland, Ohio is where the first branch started. As of 6 months ago, when we began franchising, we now have 4 locations running in different parts of the country with a goal of getting that up to 12 by the end of the year.
Gotcha. What do you see yourself in 2025, ideally?
I think at that point in time, the validation begins to grow, because we've got those that have been operating and running. At that point, we're looking at 20 to 25 new franchises onboarding each year thereafter.
Gotcha. That's incredible. Guys, if you are looking to partner up with someone like Robert in this industry, he's offering an exclusive franchise fee discount that is an absolutely phenomenal opportunity. So if you want more details, check them out in the description below. So Barry's done here. He's off to the next job. I mean, we're not looking for anything particular, but we just gave the juice it needed, right?
That's right. The nourishment, the nutrients allows this lawn to grow out, even in the hardest of summers like we're having up here north right now. But overall, I think the lawn looks really good.
Absolutely. I mean, I could tell the difference between some of the other neighbors here, that you guys service this and not yet the neighbors, right? Not yet.
That's right. I like walking up and down the street and seeing our flags, and typically where I see these orange flags and lawns are the greenest lawns on the street.
So as of today, 2024, where did the leads come from? Give us the sources, if you could break that down, and what kind of marketing spend do you think franchisees should expect?
Great questions. So obviously one of the things we try to do is we try to deploy that marketing money in multiple channels. One, just so we can get, we can kind of diversify the risk a little bit depending on what's working and what's not. First and foremost, SEO. We're always doing SEO, whether it's working on the website, putting out blogs, putting out content. There's a good investment going towards that all year long. In the spring, typically based on the consumer buying behavior, we're doing a lot of direct mail early in the spring when we're trying to get customers to obviously make those early season decisions. Just like when you see at Lowe's or Home Depot, when you walk in those aisles in the spring, you see fertilizer in the aisle on the head cap. So heavy direct mail in the spring, and then followed by a lot of pay-per-click and social mix throughout the year. And there's a number of other marketing channels that we use, but I would say those are the big 4.
The big 3, the big 4, okay.
Yeah. You got to think of lifetime value, because we keep these customers 5, 10 years or so. So you could be looking at a lifetime value of $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So when you're looking at your spends, it's okay to spend $150 on a customer when you know you're going to generate $8,000 over the course of his lifetime.
Right. So what's the advertising medium that has the highest ROI?
You know, I think in the short term, for example, when you're looking at the customer value over a 2 or 3 year period of time, pay per click. No doubt about it, it's going to generate those leads, and our close rates are still hovering at 45 to 55% range. But we really like to look at it over lifetime value perspective. And from that perspective, it's direct mail all day long. We'll keep those customers much longer than any other lead source. So it's going to generate more money over the life of that customer. You know, I've heard for years, direct mail is dead, and we have used it 24 consecutive years with great success.
Awesome. Yeah, for those realtors out there, you guys, what do you think? If their curb appeal looks like this, how much more value does that add to the property? In my opinion, I think it's at least 10%.
I agree, 100%.
At least. So it's worth the spend. I've been dying to ask you about this $15 investment that generated over 500 customers from that one investment.
Think back to early 2008 when we really started going heavy with online marketing, and we knew that as part of that we needed to build as much content as possible to get out in the World Wide Web so those webs would start working. And I reached out to the Ohio State University, got in contact with one of their grad students at the Ohio State's turf school. I remember his name, Andrew Muntz. I remember his name because of the amount of money that blog that he wrote back in 2008 has generated for us. The title of this blog was, "What is that clumpy grass in my lawn?" Pretty simple. What is that clumpy grass on my lawn? It goes on to talk about its turf type tough SKU with all the, you know, as a turf nerd, all the cool stuff in there, talking about its growing pattern, how it grows, how it goes to seed, how to maintain it, so on and so forth. But blogs like that, we've been able to go ahead and have direct attribution back from the web coming into our CRM, showing the amount of leads that have been generated from that search term, from that blog, which come right into our sales. And then they're converted into sales. And when you're talking 500 plus sales on a
$15 blog.
Right. Now, I have reached back out to Andrew since and told him I feel like I owe you another $15 at least.
At least another $15. Yeah. Are you doing more of that now as far as the blog?
We do it all the time. We fill the internet with all kinds of content. Pretty easy content strategy. They ask, you answer. We think about, we are the ultimate content machine. We're out on lawns talking to customers, talking to techs all day long. Whatever questions they ask, we answer that in the form of a blog. And it's thousands of questions a year, so it turns into, you know, by the time we write them, hundreds of blogs that we can put out there, just answering questions that consumers have.
Any advice for new businesses looking to attract new customers with today's AI, digital age, etc.?
Yeah, and it's a perfect lead in because I actually think it's the opposite of that. You've got to work your ground game. You've got to work all the sources that don't cost you money. You've got to attend the Chamber of Commerce meetings. You've got to go to the business network meetings. You've got to find partners in your industry. Like we call on a lot of landscapers who don't do that service. They may do the mowing or the landscaping, but we go to them and offer our services as to complement their services. But we call it ground game. And even 24 years later in business, we spend a considerable amount of time and energy and effort into developing our ground game, making sure that we're canvassing neighborhoods with door hangers, that we're putting up signs, that we park our vehicles in central spots so people can see that from a brand perspective. To get out in the community, whether it's fundraisers for nonprofits, it's about getting that brand out with a human touch versus what you're going to get as far as a notification. So I think, you know, if you want your direct mail to work, if you want your pay-per-click to work, you've got to really get out into the neighborhoods, into the community, and really start that ground game from day one.
Yeah, ground game sounds like will never get old.
That's right.
No matter how much AI, digital age, PPC, all this you have, there's that relationship.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to take the place of this every single day in these meetings.
Thank you for doing business.
That's right.
Yeah. 500 plus customers with a $15 investment sounds crazy, but with the right knowledge and guidance, your craziest business idea can become a reality too. If you've got an idea sprouting or are looking to bloom your existing business, then you've got to check out the UpFlip Academy. With step-by-step guidance, blueprints, and a workshop from real business owners and access to world-class mentors, the UpFlip Academy trims the fluff to bring you practical advice that you can put into action today. It's the fertilizer you need to grow your business, but without the gross, smelly stuff. See for yourself by visiting UpFlip.com. All right, so let's go to your corporate office. Give us a little preview of what we're going to see there.
So we've got a training room we'll use to facilitate all onboarding of new employees and onboarding of all new franchises. Our call center, as well as a warehouse with the van and some equipment ready for you to see.
All right, let's go check it out. All right. How many people do you have working out of this location?
You get 12 in the call center currently, and director of operations, our training manager, and our onboarding manager. So it was 16.
Okay. And then the rest is going to be the team members out in the field?
That's correct.
This is a wonderful space. How long have you been operating out of this space here?
Just under 3 weeks.
Gotcha.
We transitioned just from a few miles away over to here, and transition plan was pretty seamless, making sure we kept the phone center up and running and transferred folks over 2 at a time until we were all hosted in one site. But all the franchise training happens right in here, inviting them in here for a 1 full week of lawn school to go over everything from agronomics to customer service to sales.
Why would somebody join a franchisee as opposed to starting in their own business? I mean, especially in your industry, you've got 2 tools. You could start as little as $500, get a van, get a truck, and you're good to go. I think
it really starts with our name, Lawn Squad. What we bring you all in one business solution is a marketing solution, a sales solution, an agronomic and coaching solution. We bring all this together because the difference between going from $0 to $1 million is how many mistakes do you make along the way.
Yeah.
The value that Lawn Squad as a franchisor brings to the table is we're going to significantly reduce that learning curve. If it would take somebody on average 5 to 10 years to get to $1 million, our goal is to do it in half that time, because we've got an entire marketing team dedicated to generating leads. We've got an entire call center designed to take every call a customer is going to give to your company and process it, get that information back to you in the field. And we've got the agronomic training that is as good as going to and getting a college degree. They're going to take you through Turf 101, Turf 201, Turf 301, all the way into your master's courses, all as part of being part of the franchise. That's what you're paying for, but there's actual value that's being delivered. It's not just paying a fee to be part of the system. It's actually paying a group of consultants to bring the learning directly to you.
What should we expect then as a franchisee coming in, as a partner? What do the initial couple weeks initially look like, months?
Yeah. We have a very scheduled, a very detailed out plan that takes 2 to 3 months from the time you sign on to the time you're actually in the field producing work. During that time, while you're going through all the training, in the background, the marketing team is standing up your website, preparing your SEO stuff, getting the pay-per-click, getting your Google LSA all ready to go. So by the time you graduate from lawn school, 12 weeks in, you're back at your home office and the phone is ringing. Good news is the phone's ringing right into the call center, being handled by people that have done that every single day for the last 23 years.
Right.
They understand what the consumer is asking for, and they're able to deliver results that really accentuate the close rates that we've become accustomed to.
Gotcha. Okay, guys, as we've mentioned earlier, if you're looking to become part of Lawn Squad, we'll make sure to leave a special link for our UpFlip viewers in the description. Check it out. So you've mentioned an impressive 50 to 70% plus conversion rate, which is absolutely phenomenal. How is that achievable?
For starters, we don't really look at it as marketing and sales. We actually, years ago, blended that term and we call it smarketing. It's really an engagement completely between our sales department and our marketing department that allows the synergy between the two to really work together. So it's not just generate a lead, phone rings, you pick it up and you answer the phone. It's a combination of all that went into that marketing so that the sales teams know exactly which campaign these customers are calling from, whether it's a direct mail piece, whether it's a door hanger, whether it's an online lead. They all have a variety of different offers. And so making sure that the sales department understands specifically what this lead is, what offer is attached to it. And then to take it a step farther, we all put so much emphasis on the marketing, trying to generate leads, trying to lower our cost per lead. We put just as much effort on the sales side, building out nurturing and automation so that as these leads are coming through, we're processing them through a CRM that, depending on the disposition of that call, whether it was called back, left a message, it automatically goes into a nurturing campaign where those leads, which are still leads, are being nurtured along the way, sending out texts and emails, sending out free guides.
And the business is in the follow-up, right?
That's exactly right.
We hear that often.
Now, we've been lucky enough that about 50 to 60% of our leads will close on the first call, but that still leaves another 50% that have to be nurtured. They have to be put through a process so that the sales team is making calls and trying to sell it, but in between those phone calls, those customers will receive a text, an email, or some type of notification from us that provides them some additional information on things to consider when hiring a lawn care contractor. They can read through that white paper themselves. So really it's the combination of sales and marketing that's led to that.
Let's talk about launching a successful direct mail campaign. What are some mistakes maybe that you've made? Share with us an experience, and how would you do it differently?
But really, it all starts with the intelligence behind identifying who your customers are, really researching and understanding who they are, who your core client is, so that when you're out acquiring lists from database companies, you're really locking in on the customers that have the highest propensity to purchase your service. From there, obviously, you look at the promotion. What are you offering? What's the offer? What's the creative
call to action, sort of?
Exactly, and trying to bring all this together between really understanding who your client is, what's the best offer, and how to get them to prompt them to call with some urgency. Or back in the day, we'd have them return the self-enclosed mailer, fill it out, and send it back to us. I think the biggest lessons that we've learned is from our failures. I'll never forget, I thought we were being the most innovative lawn care company in the world back in 2011. We actually measured out and we took pictures offline of the front of everybody's home of the 50,000 mailers we were about to put out. And we put that in a clear envelope. So the entire front of the envelope was a picture of their house.
Of my house.
Of your house. And when you open that envelope,
creepy.
Unfolded it, and your price for your program for the year was on there, and I thought this is going to be great. How innovative is this?
I mean, it sounds pretty cool from the get-go.
It sounded really good.
How did people respond?
And almost $56,000 later, we got 6 customers from it. 6 customers. We actually did an after-action survey after this to find out why didn't it work, and people said it was creepy, like you just mentioned.
I get a piece of mail with a picture of my house. And a price to do lawn care.
Yeah, we thought it was cool. Now I will tell you what, it'll work great today. We were just about 12 years too soon on that. And I guess that's the lesson learned is don't be afraid to try something new. If you're doing the same thing everybody else is doing, you're probably going to get the same results year after year. So we wanted to try something new. It didn't work, but it's a story I've been telling for years ever since.
How do you ensure great customer service, especially since your business is built around recurring customers, right? So talk to us about any SOPs in place to make sure they're happy after each visit and so forth.
Sure. First and foremost, it goes into the training. These guys go through pretty rigorous training, and not just at the time of hire, but the continuous training throughout the season. Especially when we look at lawn care, it's really 5 or 6 different seasons from spring to late spring to summer. So during each one of those transitions, there's always additional training and education that we're providing the technicians. And after every application is performed on a customer's lawn, they all get a follow-up call 48 hours after application. We call it a pharmacy call, based on the notes and condition codes that the technician left when he was actually performing this lawn.
I see.
So they'll just follow up, hey, did you get Barry's notes? Did you have any questions? Any messages for Gary? And then, well, of course, the sales side comes out, oh, by the way, I see Barry mentioned the lawn needs a core aeration. So really it's about providing what we call the tech experience to the customer. Customers don't fire a technician if he knows their name. Every survey we've ever done, a customer that cancels that doesn't mention the tech's name, well, they're canceling. If they say, well, I wasn't happy with the lawn, but it wasn't Barry's fault, it was the weather, or we didn't mow it, or we didn't water it properly. If you can make that connection with the customer, you're going to keep them for life.
For sure. How do I shortcut my way to success? I know it's somewhat of a cheat question, but if there is an answer, give it to us.
Well, there's 2 things. First is attending your state and national conferences within your industry, because you're never going to go to a place that's got 2,000 or 3,000 people all doing the exact same thing you do. And when you get in those settings, people want to share. They want to give feedback, because when you're trying to grow your business, if there's really no shortcuts, but if there are shortcuts, is to find out what has worked and what hasn't worked for somebody else. Taking that a step farther, in 2008, I put together a peer group. Well, I was part of putting together a peer group with 10 of the other lawn care companies, who I think are the best 10 lawn care companies throughout the country, to be able to sit in rooms with them and ask, what are their best practices? What have they done to overcome this? What kind of equipment are they using? What software are they using? And to be able to have that relationship where you're sharing the best practices, that's the way to shortcut to success.
To success, gotcha. Many of our viewers name fear of failure as like the reason for not pursuing a business or starting a business. What do you say to that?
As a high school basketball coach for the last 26 years, trying to change the minds of young men and give them the courage, one of the things I often tell them is run into the pain, because on the other side of pain is glory. So don't fear getting into the pain, because that's where you have to get to the pain if you want to realize the glory. For me, starting this business, leaving a nice paid job with a great company, my wife the same year, obviously leaving her job, fear wasn't an option. I mean, failure wasn't an option. 24 years later, it was the best decision I ever made. And so I would say, if you believe in yourself, you believe in the people around you, you can't fail.
Besides the financial motivation, like I have to make money to provide, what else can get an entrepreneur to keep taking those steps forward, keep moving towards the fear, towards the storm, right?
Yeah.
I know Brandon, one of the people we interviewed, he's got a different kind of business, but he said that, you know, buffaloes run into the storm rather than away from it.
That's
so
right.
It's like, get it over with.
Yep.
You know, the storm's there anyway. So like, can you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, we're all prideful people. We all want to realize our dreams. We all have ideas and think our way is better, right? And that's what being an entrepreneur really is. It's about believing in yourself, having an idea, and trying to prove that it works.
To yourself first and foremost?
That's right, to ourselves first and foremost. And then beyond that, that's where the glory sits, right? It's not always the financial reward. Sometimes it's just ego, it's pride. I know that I did it my way and it worked.
Awesome. Why is your business mainly B2C as opposed to B2B? Is that not profitable on the business side?
Yeah, no, doing work for commercial customers is very profitable. The advantage of business B2C is that obviously there's hundreds of thousands of homes and hundred thousands of lawns out there. And so when it comes to direct mail marketing, and we're a volume-based business, we have thousands of customers that it's easier to target the residential client base. But over the years, once you've got a footprint, your branding's strong in that area, what you find is a lot of that commercial work starts coming to you because of the brand that you've built in that marketplace. You know, currently 80% of our customer base is residential, so there are huge opportunities in the commercial side of the business that we just have almost just recently started kind of going after a lot more.
What's your best advice for scaling a business then? What do you think?
It's about people, hiring the right people, hiring up people smarter than yourselves. 2008, we brought on a director of marketing, right? 2012, we brought on a director of sales. 2015, we brought in some people that understood IT and how to leverage the different platforms to create integration between the software systems to speak to one another. When you talk about scaling the business, it's about connecting all the dots. So for me, it's about increasing your talent on your team.
What is the biggest advice you've ever received, you would say?
It was to be genuine and authentic, because you get caught when you lie. You got to remember your lies. And from an early age, my parents told me, if you're not good enough, then you're not good enough.
Right.
If you're good enough, you're good enough. So just be authentic and be genuine. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to take risks, to take leaps that may be beyond what you're capable of, because you won't know until you try.
Yeah, essentially never become a politician.
That's right.
Hearing, right?
That's right.
Maybe. I don't know if that's a good way to wrap it. Lawn care seems lucrative. You will be shocked to hear Peter in episode 9 talk about how much he makes in his paver business. Take a second to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.